Today I'm going to do the reading roundup and goals and progress update of 2025. Hello everyone, my name is Harmony. If you're a new viewer, welcome, or if you're a returning viewer, welcome back. On this channel I talk about books, book reviews and any other reading related topics. Today I'm going to talk about my reading goals and progress of the first half of 2025, that being all of January through to all of June, which is why I'm recording this in July, so that you get the whole of the first half of the year. So my goal, aside from the fact that me and my sister are attempting a challenge of reading one book a week, which is going okay but not as well as we'd hoped, still quite fun though. My personal goal was to read 40 books for the year, and as of the end of June of 2025 I finished 18 books, and 2 of those are things I started reading in 2024 and finished at the very start of 2025. And I read 1,474 pages approximately. I say approximately because some of the things I read didn't have page numbers. And I listened to 108.22 hours of audio. So the audio books that I listened to are the last 5 Harry Potter books. For reference, that is Prisoner of Azkaban, The Goblet of Fire, The Order of the Phoenix, The Half-Blood Prince, and The Deathly Hallows. I also finished reading The Scent of Money by Niall Ferguson. That's a financial history book which was okay. It was one of those books that's informative but really slow to read. And although it was about 15 years out of date, it still had some valid points and interesting from a history of finance point of view. I also read No One Is Too Small to Make a Difference by Greta Thunberg. Because that book is a collection of her speeches, I found it rather repetitive as a book, but if you just take them as individual speeches, fine. What you're looking for is in the library. The author's name I can never quite pronounce. Anyway, Japanese author, book in translation, yes, fine. There was one story that I did particularly like. The rest were okay. I really don't bother with short story collections, but I thought, well, I've heard mixed reviews of this one, so I give it a go. The Separation by Dinah Jeffries. That was a really good book, and I'm probably going to do a review of that one. Set in, well, partly in Malaya and partly in England in the 1950s, at the time when the British were still in Malaya, but that country was gaining its independence, or regaining its independence, whatever. In Her Shadow by Emma Christie, a crime fiction book. It was alright. A lot of it though was about the misdemeanors of the main character and there wasn't that much crime in it. I don't know even if historical crime would be an accurate term for that book, because meh. It was, I don't know. It was one of those that the crime mentioned in the book took place, or supposed crime took place about 20 years prior. So, yeah. as historical as it might be. Agatha Christie, A Very Elusive Woman by Lucy Worsley. Great book, absolutely fascinating. Highly recommend it, and I have written a really long review on that. I could also do a video review of that if you guys will like. The New Millennium Serial Killer, The Life and Crimes of Christopher Halliwell by Bethan Truman and Chris Clark. Very interesting book. A lot of it is speculation based on evidence of other crimes that Christopher Halliwell might have committed or is suspected of committing. So, yeah. That book, by the way, is Bethan Truman is one of the presenters of the Seeing Red podcast, a true crime podcast that I listen to. Dramatic Murder by Elizabeth Anthony. Pretty good book, crime fiction, Scottish crime fiction actually, and that was one that I read as part of the book group that I go to. Anne of Avonlea, again, great book, kids book I know, well, say kids book, any age can read it really. The second book in the Anne of Green Gables series. A Litter of Bones by J.D. Kirk. Yeah, that was fine as far as crime fiction goes. Actually, it was a great start to the whole series. So, from what I've been told, the series of books actually gets better. I think it's just called the DCI Logan series. Anyway, A Litter of Bones is one that I had to grab on Kindle Unlimited because I couldn't find it anywhere else. But I'm looking forward to reading the rest of that book series. Room 13 by Robert Swindell. Another Kindle book, and that is a book that I had, well, my class had read to us when we were in year 6, so about age 10 at primary school, and it's one that I've always wanted to read myself ever since. You know how some books you just remember for whatever reason. So yeah, I'm very glad I read that one. Don't really know how to describe that one, and I made a very poor job of describing it when someone asked what it was about. The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. Fantastic. Looking forward to reading The Lord of the Rings. Yeah, a lot of themes covered in that book. Obviously magic, good and evil is a theme running throughout that, and yeah, all kinds of things. The Sign of Four by Arthur Conan Doyle. Pretty good book. The second book in the Sherlock Holmes series. So, yeah, I like that book, and yeah, I don't really know what to say about that, but yeah. Sherlock Holmes, pretty good. Uh, so on average, the Storygraph reckons it took me an average of 21 days to finish a book. I will say though that there are a good few days or even weeks that I haven't had much chance to read this year, and so it's not as accurate as it might be. And also the Kindle books are ones that I practically flew through, because I read those in like a day each. So I tend to skew statistics in that way. Right, the moods of the books generally are adventurous, mysterious, dark, reflective, emotional, informative, light-hearted, inspiring, hopeful, challenging, and funny. Basically all the kinds of things that you could imagine, because I've read a few different genres of books so far this year. As far as the length of the books goes, 8 books of the physical ones or digital ones, whatever, that I've read have been less than 300 pages, and 5 were 300 pages to 499 pages. So as you can see, a lot of the books that I've read have actually been on the rather short side, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but I tend to quite like to settle down with longer books. Although the audio ones are nice as well when I'm doing other things, and if it's a story that I'm already familiar with. 4 books were non-fiction and 14 were fiction. Okay, great. I really need to get more non-fiction back into my life because I love non-fiction. But I'm also catching up with a lot of the fiction books that I either had read to me or just never read at all, or some of which I just like. So I read them again. Right, 6 books were middle grade and fantasy. 3 books were classics. 2 crime. 12 were biography, historical, I put 1 or 2 on that for some weird reason. Anyway, biography, historical, economic, history, horror, literary, politics, science, romance, thriller, true crime. That was only one that was true crime actually. Young adult and children's. on average I gave the books 4.6 stars out of 5, which was pretty good, but I think I only gave 1 or 2 books a full 5 stars. So yeah, what do you guys think of these books that I've read? How are you guys doing with reading and all those kind of things? Yeah, I'm hoping to read a lot more non-fiction in the rest of the year, but I have of course been reading more crime fiction as well. And I'm going to be reading some historical fiction and various other things in the second half of the year. Anyway, that'll be all for me for now, and as ever, if you like this video, feel free to hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, share with your friends, and I will see all of you in the next video.